Question 20 in the education section, which is worth 4 marks. Identify and explain one advantage of using a longitudinal study to investigate the effects of streaming students in schools. In this question, you only need to give one advantage. Make sure you focus on the correct focus of the question. Don't accidentally give a disadvantage. You also need to know what a longitudinal study is. So that word is crucial. It's the linchpin of the question. And you need to know what streaming is. So a longitudinal study is a study that occurs over a long period of time. So this would be sometimes also known as a cohort study because you're looking at a particular group of students again and again and again over time. So you'll see them grow, you'll see them age. If I'm looking at streaming, then I'm looking at putting students into groups based on their ability. Remember, we've talked about setting and streaming, but we don't really need to worry about the difference between the two when it comes to the actual exam. Streams of subjects would be particular groups of subjects. So for instance, you might be in the top stream for a faculty of subjects like your humanities subjects, or you might be in the top stream for your English, maths and science subjects, your core subjects. But either way you look at it, it essentially means you're putting pupils into ability groups. So what we need to do is to work out why a longitudinal study would be useful, would be an advantage of looking at the effects of streaming. Now for this, I'm going to go straight to the mark scheme because there's a few things I need to point out to you about this. So as I said at the beginning of the video, it wants one advantage. So if you've given lots of advantages, I'm afraid you'll notice you've only got the 1A or 1 mark for it because I'm only allowed to give you 1A or 1 mark. You may also notice that if you've given a long answer, you may not have got the full mark, and that's because once I've identified the AO1, I look for where you said the most about it or you've given the best answer, and that's where I can then apply the AO2. So it could be, and there are a few questions that I saw like this, that you gave a couple of advantages and you developed it slightly, or you developed both advantages slightly, and you still haven't got the full marks. That's just because of the limitations of how the mark scheme applies, I'm afraid. So it shows us some indicative content to consider using. So it allows the researcher to study changes in behaviour amongst students in different streams over time. So I might be interested to see how bottom stream and top stream students differ. And if I've got the time, over a longer period of time to look at this, I've got valid data, I've got better data, which is also this third point here. It also lets me look at the long-term impact of a student's placement. So whether or not they go on to university, whether they go on to higher paid jobs, all of that, I can see if there's a correlation, if there's a connection between that and the streams that they were put in. Now, I need to develop those points further, so I don't need to give all 3. Let's just choose the top one. So it allows the researcher to study changes in behaviour among students in a different stream over time. The top bullet point develops that. So you can see a little bit of repetition here. So I might be able to see if values and attitudes change over time. For example, the impact of the streaming on their approach to learning. So sometimes upper streams or top set students tend to do better because they tend to have a better attitude. That might be because by being put into the top stream, by being positively labelled, they are given a lot of motivation. Remember, the positive effect of being labelled can take place just like on the bottom end of the stream. If I've put someone into a bottom stream, I'm basically saying you're not as good as the people at the top. That student goes, I'm not as intelligent, I'm quite stupid, internalizes that label. Maybe they then develop a negative attitude. So that's how I would develop that first point here. So what I want you to do is have a look at your answer, see which of these points applies, and see if you can then develop your answer further. Now, it's possible that you gave a different answer that's not listed here, in which case I might need to work with you one-to-one to give you some help on how to develop it further rather than use the mark scheme here.